The Seattle Surge have a busy offseason ahead of them after another disappointing year in 2021. Today we are playing Armchair GM and we are attempting to fix the Seattle Surge and clean up the mess they have made over the past two CDL seasons and build a strong organization as we approach 2022. If you enjoy this video, definitely let me know by leaving a like down below. Leave a comment as well with your thoughts on the video and subscribe to the channel if you want to see more of these from me in the future because there will be more of them. You can also catch up on the previous two installments of the series. They will be linked down below as well. I appreciate all your support and let's hop right into the video. If you have watched previous installments of this series, you know I always like to start with recapping the 2021 season for the teams I'm focusing on. And for Seattle, it was not pretty, although it was better than 2020, which of course is not saying very much. They placed 9th for the season. They also had the 9th best series win record and the 9th best map win record, so they were consistently 9th across the board. They were a pretty good hardpoint team, just under 500, but then pretty bad at both search and destroy and control. At one point during the year, they lost like 11 controls in a row, so it definitely was not their strong mode. I will say, though, they did look a lot better on LAN. As we all know, they got top 8 and top 6 in their 2 LAN tournaments. They also won, I believe, 11-1 on hardpoint on LAN, so that was impressive for them. It was disappointing for them, definitely, to not be able to play on LAN all season long because they were a group of guys who probably could have performed better on LAN, as we did see towards the end of the season. However, the 2021 season is not very important for this team as we look to next year, and you probably know why by now, but if you don't know why, it is of course because they dropped their entire team actually before Champs even ended. They squad wiped before, I think it was during day 2 of Champs, they announced their entire roster would not be back next year. That includes Octane, Prestini, Gunless, Classic, Looney, and even the coach Joey Nubsy. So they are going for a complete rebuild. I can't say it's hard to blame them. After what we saw from this team the last 2 years, there was not much success for them. You could argue there should have been more success given the players they had. Again, online was unfortunate, but regardless, they did not have a lot of success. So I think it was the right move to announce a full rebuild and sort of rebuild from the ground up. And here's what we're going to do. So let's hop right into the rebuild plans. So I like the approach Seattle has taken so far with their offseason, starting with a coach. I think it's important to build a foundation around the players to allow them to succeed and also to allow the coach to succeed. So you can see Phoenix has coached a lot of players over the course of the past few seasons. He coached Wester this year in Challengers, which includes Paul X, Venom, Gravity, and Zaptius. He also coached Easter to a Stage 3 championship in the Challengers Elite with John, Jerd, Sib, and I believe Gravity as well, so a lot of talent there. He also coached both Insight and CleanX at Champs and Black Ops 4 when they made Champs out of the amateur scene, so he has a lot of good experience and a lot of experience with the young guys, which is important because it's probably going to be a full rebuild for Seattle. There probably will be some young players who will need some guidance and direction, and he can definitely provide that. But I also think it goes beyond him. You know, I would not just stop with a good head coach. I would put in an entire support system around him. We see some of the top teams, they have multiple coaches, they have analysts, they have an entire staff for their coach, not just one guy. Like look at Sender and Optic, for example. He's by himself. That really can't be the case. You have to have more of a support staff around these coaches. Like Atlanta, I mean, it's obvious how much they put into their coaching and their player development and their analytics, all that good stuff. Seattle should be doing the same. They should embrace the future movement of Call of Duty, get a young team, get a new coach, get fresh ideas in there, and look to build towards the future. So I'm starting with the system. I'm starting with a good coach and a good system around him, and then we're going to finally focus on the actual players themselves. With the players, we're going to start with our AR duo, and we're going to actually grab a family reunion of sorts with Phoenix. We're going to get both Tom Gravity and Paul X and get that Wester connection going in the CDL. So Tom Gravity has been the best main AR in Challengers over the past 2 seasons. I don't think there's much of a debate over that. I think he's one of the top 3 overall prospects from Challengers. I mean, the guy's just nasty. I have no idea how he's not in a CDL organization yet. I think this next year will be the year he finally does crack into the CDL. I think there's a very good chance of this happening. So, like, this video is what I would do, but I think this was what they will do as well in real life because of that connection with Phoenix. He has to like Tom Gravity. He has to know how talented he is. And I think this is going to happen. And then Paul X is another very talented, versatile flex player. He was with London last year. Of course, as we all know, he was a top 2 player for them. Not much talent around him, but he had a pretty good season in his rookie year. However, they have made it clear they will not be bringing him back next year. Or they have not made it clear, but it's been clearly reported they will not be bringing him back next year. They will instead look to build an all-EU roster, so he is available, and he will not be available long. Very talented player, like I said, very versatile. He can run the flex AR, run the 3rd sub if you need it. Very talented player. Both of these guys, they put it together. They know how to succeed together. They communicate well. They have that chemistry. So all things considered, starting with Phoenix, getting a good coaching staff, then getting this AR duo is a very good start to building a team towards the future in the CDL. Next thing I would do, and the one exception I would potentially make to the youth movement I've been talking about, is making an inquiry with the LA Thieves about Hook and seeing what his status is. I'm not saying I would offer him a contract. I would just call and ask some questions because there really is a lot of questions about Hook. We don't really know a whole lot about him. We don't know where his mental state is at, well, where his drive is to play. If he wants to keep playing, I assume he does, but who knows for sure. We don't know if LA Thieves want to keep him around on their team next year. He could always be part of their plans for the future. And we also don't know how much money he would cost if they would be looking to part ways with him. So there's a lot of questions. I'm not saying I would offer him a contract instantly. I would just sort of feel out the process, see what's going on with Hook, if he is available and if he's willing to come over and sort of work with these young guys and build a team towards maybe not success this year, but next year and towards the future. I'd be looking at Hook. He's just a very talented player. We all know that. There will be a veteran presence needed on this team because it will be mostly young guys. And Hook sort of bounces the line. Like, he's not old, but he's also a veteran. He's been around the scene for a long time. So he can bring that veteran calming presence and that experience with winning while also not being old and not being like on the last year of his career. So there's a lot of upside with bringing in Hook. Potential downside is too with like his drive and his desire to play, whatever else. But if he's in a good state and wants to play, he would definitely be a welcome addition to this team to be that veteran and also to be the very talented slaying SMG player. So not a guarantee, but I would at least look into Hook to put him on this roster. After we know what Hook's status is, we will be in need of either 1 or 2 SMG players, and they would come from this list, and they are actually in order. So it would start in the top left with Pentagram. This guy was, in my opinion, the second most talented player in Challengers this year, only behind Yeez of the Florida Mutineers. He's just phenomenal. He was super successful with that Built by Gamers roster. He clearly stood out as their best player, and they were one of the best teams. So you do the math. He's the best player in one of the best teams. He has to be one of the best prospects, and he is. Very talented SMG player, but also versatile. If there was a case where you would need a third AR on the map, he definitely could do it. We have seen him fry with an AR numerous times over the course of the Challenger season. So Pentagram, very high on him. If Hook was with him, that'd be a solid pair to put together and build towards the future. Next guy is Vortex, and he's the only exception to this role of the young options. He's actually not young. I think he's 23, so he's not old or anything, but he is a bit of a veteran. He has been around since like 2015 or 2016. And he would be a guy that I'd be interested in bringing in if Hook was not available or was not on the team. Because like I was saying, you will need some sort of a veteran presence. You can't really have all like 19-year-olds who have no CDL or no significant professional experience. So I would bring in Vortex. He's not been in the CDL yet, but he has been very successful in EU Challengers over the past 2 seasons. I wouldn't say he has been the best or the most talented prospect from over there, but he has been the most successful, and you can't deny success. You need to have some sort of a winning pedigree on your team. I would look at Vortex. He's good, he's very talented, and also successful, and he's a veteran, and he could be good for this team for their communications or just a calming, wise presence, if you will, on the team. So I'd be looking at him if Hook was not available. If Hook was available, maybe Vortex wouldn't make as much sense. Moving on to Pro Loot, he played a lot. He had a lot of success in Challengers this year. He started off with the New York Subliners Academy team. He had a couple wins earlier in the year, then bounced around a little bit. Then he actually won Challengers Champs. He's a talented SMG player, and he's also very vocal. If you hear their listen-ins and listen to their team's comms during Challengers Champs, he's a very vocal guy, and that would be helpful in this team because Gravity, he can be a little bit quiet. Same with Paul X. So Pro Loot could help out with the communication a lot for sure. He's also just a very talented player. He's especially good at Search and Destroy, which is important because, as we all know, if you're going to be competing for titles and playing best of 9s, you play more Search than any other game mode. So you have to be good at Search. Pro Loot is definitely that, but he's also good at the other modes. So a lot of good things to say about Pro Loot. He is one of the top prospects coming out of Challengers this year. Moving down to Venom. This is not one that I'm as high on personally, but I also recognize the possibility of this happening because of the Wester connection with Phoenix. So he might want to bring in some of his Wester boys. Like I said, I think he will bring in at least Tom Gravity. Venom might be another option, and he's a guy who, he had his ups and downs this year. There were times on the LA Thieves when he was on their team where I'd say he was their worst player, but there's times where I'd also say he was one of their better players. So a little bit inconsistent, but he does have a decent ceiling. He's pretty good at Search, which is, again, is valuable for your SMG players, for any player really. I think there's better options, but I don't think he's a bad option either. And then Zaptius, after playing this year with the Paris Legion, and I think he played one stage with London, I'm not super high on him either, but I am high on him on Search. He's a very good Search player, and he sort of single-handedly turned Paris around in Search when he got there. I believe in Stage 4, they were one of the best Search teams in the league. I think that had a lot to do with Zaptius. However, he is not very good at the respawn modes. I don't think he offers a whole lot there. He's not a super strong slayer. He plays very slow. He was like one of the slowest playing players in the league this year in respawns, and that includes all the AR players. So it's sort of been a trend recently. You got to play faster. Zaptius does not do that. So while he's good at Search, he's not very good at the other modes. Maybe it'd be one of those things where you could use him for a game-specific substitution. I doubt that would happen, but he is good at Search. I will give him that for sure, and he was also with that Wester team. So again, if Phoenix wants to bring back all of his Wester boys, that might happen. So while I wouldn't do it, I recognize the possibility of both Venom and Zaptius being on this team, and that's why I have them listed here. But I would definitely start in that top row. Start with Pentagram. You get Vortex if you can't get Hook because you need that veteran on the team, and then Pro Loot, just an all-around beast, very good at Search, good SMG player, good communicator. So any of those 5 guys, if you need one of them, get Pentagram. If you need 2, get whoever you need. Just get some talent on this team alongside of Tom Gravity, Paul X, and maybe Hook. build this young roster up from the ground up and build a system towards the future. This team might not be very successful next year. They probably wouldn't be. They would not be competing for championships. I think they would be a respectable team, but not a great one. However, you get these young guys together, get them a year of experience in the CDL, and build a support system around them and just a good environment overall. And then you look towards 2023, and all of a sudden you're looking at a pretty good team. They'd all have a year of experience. They'd all have a year of chemistry built together and a good foundation around them with the coaching staff. And you're looking at a very solid team because there's surely a lot of talent among these guys. They just have to sort of have the system to put it all together. So that's what I would do. Let me know down below what you would do if you were building the Seattle Surge for next year. If you enjoyed the video, leave a like as always, and subscribe to the channel as well if you want to see more videos like this one from me in the future, because you will definitely see more of them. I do appreciate all of your support in these videos so very much. So I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you have a good day today, and I'll talk to you guys in the next video.